Are these which glasses? I think one of my glasses has more of a shade to it.
Yeah, that one.
I'm gonna try this one. Is this better or it's the same?
Honestly, they look the same.
All
I
right,
think this one, the other one's like a little darker actually.
let's see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those like a little like a slighter tint.
these weren't supposed to be tinted, but anyway, here I am. So this is better.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we have 10 people. That's good. Oh, good.
Smiling.
No.
How are you doing, Jane?
I think we are ready to begin. I think I also found the place in the film as well.
Great. Hi, Kona.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Happy to always see you.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Always. That was a big one. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, cool. It's true. Each one of you. So can we, how should we proceed, Jane? Should we put everybody on the screen? We'll ask people. Oh, there's Asa, good. How do you want to proceed, Jane?
I'm sorry, I just heard your voice twice because I'm doing the YouTube live stream, which
Okay, all right,
is.
you do this. So, hey, everybody. So I'm hosting, right, Jane?
Oh, okay. I can welcome people.
All right, that's it.
Sorry, I heard you in the present, and I heard you 2 minutes ago. So I was like, "What?" So sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. Welcome. We are here with leaders of the Strategy Center, and we have this very important fight. Right as we just won a great breakthrough at the LAUSD in both defunding the LA School Police by 25 million and now being able to be on the committee that allocates that money to Black students and winning the fact that it's going to go to Black students and with a lot of different, very great elements of the victory. Millions and millions of dollars going to psychiatric social workers, counselors, going to PD, what is PD? Professional development and curriculum change. But right as we were just talking about that on a Wednesday meeting, in the middle of the meeting, we got news that Metro is trying to increase their budget for policing by $111 million. And so this week is going to be pivotal in order to move the board to both reject any motion and to cut the police by 50%. And Eric and Barbara have been long time leaders of the Bus Riders Union, and they're going to have a great talk about our history of this fight because it doesn't come out of nowhere. It is part of a long history of the Metro, just not caring about both having animus against the Bus Riders Union, but also having animus against its own Black passengers. With that, I'm going to pass to Derek.
So, hey, everybody, this is exciting. Barbara LOTT-HOLLAND and I have been co-chairs of the Bus Riders Union for at least 20 years. I was the leading organizer that initiated it, but at the Strategy Center, people initiate things, but then if new leadership does not come forward, it didn't mean anything. So yeah, I played an important role and continue to play that role. But Barbara and I have been a very tight team for more than 20 years, and we still are. And so what we want you to do is get a sense of history, because the Strategy Center, my wife Leanne, early in the struggle, started putting up these posters, make history, and we would show Rosa Parks, but then we would show our member, Delabana. And you don't understand, when Rosa Parks was making history, she knew she was making history, but you didn't know she was making history until she made the history. So the Strategy Center is always trying to make history. And what we're going to tell you a lot about today is a lot of things we succeeded at, a lot of things we did not, but they were all part of history. And Barbara's going to talk a lot about what she calls a planned and conscious character. And we got that from Lenin, and V.I. Lenin, not John Lennon, but we also got it from the Black movement, the Civil Rights movement, CORE, SNCC. Every good group has a planned and conscious character to what they're doing. Otherwise, it's just spontaneous. And you can't beat these people spontaneously. So a lot what we're going to talk about is all the stuff we do to plan. I think that's maybe the big theme tonight, is about the Strategy Center is a multiracial, primarily Black and Latinx, Black and Latina organization that is trying to build a Black, Latino, third world revolution against US imperialism. No, we're not winning that war, but we're one of the few groups that's fighting that war and believes that war must be fight. And you can't win a war if you don't fight. You don't want to start the war, you're not going to win the war. So, and a lot of great things are happening in the process, right? So what we're going to do today is I'm going to tell you some of the initial history. We found about an 8-minute clip, which some of you have seen, but some of you haven't. Jenny, what do you think about going on screen and doing a check-in? Because I think we only have about 15 really great people here, or 16 or whatever, and they're all people that are trying to help in the struggle. What do you think about that? Is that okay that just people would identify themselves? Is that possible, or will you later? You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm trying to respond. I can definitely update people to panelists, and they can talk.
All right, so is that okay? We'll just update people to panelists. Everybody just say your name and the group you're with. And later on, after the conversation, of course, we're going to have a conversation that we'd like you to be part of. Is that cool? I see it, Anisha. Asa. Can people unmute and just say hi?
Hey everybody, it's Anisha.
Okay. Where you with, Anisha?
I'm sorry, I'm walking. I'm with people for Mobility Justice. I work during the day at Advancement Project. I'm also part of ACT LA.
Cool. We're very happy you're with us. Asa?
Hi, I'm Asa Peters. I am actually in Rhode Island. I am here via a storytelling project that I'm doing with some members of Labor Community Strategy Center, and just here to get involved and get to know the work that you guys are up to.
Very cool. I used to live in Boston and I was in Providence, so very happy to meet you. Who else we got here? Chanta-san.
Hey, I'm Chanta, and I am also in Boston, like Asa. We're both from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and we're just fans of Channing. We definitely love the work that you guys are doing, and we're excited to be here.
Hey, that's funny. We have fans of Channing too. That's great. And I was also, I organized for STS at UMass Boston. few decades ago. We could talk about it. Craig, how you doing?
Unmute. Okay, I'm fine. Hi, Eric, hi, Channing, and everybody else. And I'm just been following you guys and listening to your you on the radio for many years, and joined you in a protest a long time ago at LAUSD to get the weapons out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm here to see what I can do to help you guys out. So anyway, I'm here to listen. So thank
All
you
right.
guys.
That's great, though. That's great. Romy?
Hello.
Hey, I think you just cut off Romy. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us which school you're from?
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Romy Romero. I'm in Hawkins High School, Rice, and I'm like, in the little group of Taking Action. So yeah, hello.
Hey, thanks, Romy. Very happy. Mary Reich, how you doing?
I'm fine, Eric. How are
Left
you?
on mute.
You hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm fine. How are
I don't
you?
know if people can hear me. I
Great.
can't seem to hear anybody. I know people are introducing themselves.
Hi, Kamo. Go ahead.
I don't know what's going on with my audio. I'll just say it, and then people can know. I'm still out heading back home. My name is Kamal Mshale. I'm from Philadelphia. I've done work with Philly for Real Justice for the last 6 years around police abolition, including getting police out of SEPTA, which is our mass transit in Philadelphia. So I'm very happy to be here, very happy to hear and see the things people are doing, and hope to be a positive contributor.
Thanks, Kamon. Thanks for, we just talked last night, and he already signed up. He's coming to the demonstration Wednesday as well. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, excited to be here, and thank you guys for leading this fight. Yeah, I'm just excited to help get cops off Metro and stop the control of the mobility of our bus riders and transit riders. Pretty fired up about it. I'm teaching a transportation justice class this semester with a bunch of young students of color who have all had experiences of discrimination and oppression. And anyway, this work is so important right now.
Very happy. You've been very consistent, and since we met you. Thanks a lot, Sarah. Did we, who did we not get so far? Oh, we got everybody? Looks like we're good. All right, let's get moving. This was part of the moving and really was terrific. This is a pivotal moment for the bus riders union. It's pretty, I'm gonna start for about 5 minutes, no, 10. Then we found about an 8-minute clip of the film, The Revolution Will Be Strategized, where we're gonna go back and show some of the video just of the bus riders union, because that story just can never be told enough. So let's just go about the planned and conscious character. Well, so everything starts at the strategies, and it really does. It starts at 1492, but in case of my own biography as the director, starts in 1964 with my work with the Congress of Racial Equality, a Black militant group in the North and South that shaped my consciousness, that trained me. I then moved to the Newark Community Union Project, where I lived and worked in the Black community in Newark, a majority Black city, which was also very exciting. That was 65 to 67. I was there during the urban rebellion. So I've been through a lot of urban rebellions because I've been in the Black community. And I think in many ways, the Strategy Center is trying to have a very strategic urban rebellion. That's actually a lot what we're trying to do. So joined the communist group in 1974 with my wife, Leanne. And the big thing we got was that they wanted us to become factory workers. And I was excited about doing that. I'd already been a nurse's aide and operating room orderly. And I loved working in the factories. And I became a UAW, a leader of a movement in the United Auto Workers to keep the General Motors plant open. And in that struggle, we actually had the Democratic Party on our side, most of them. Tom Bradley would not support us because this was because he believed he was trying to get Japanese capital into LA with all these new buildings they were building. And he had to believe that capital had the right to go wherever it wanted to go. So he was going to support GM's right to get out, even though there were going to be 5,000 Latino, 50%, Black, 15%, women, 15%. But through a long story of another film you'll see, I was the lead organizer of a campaign that kept that plant open for 10 years. Out of that movement, we started the Strategy Center. Now, interestingly, is right around 1989, when I started the center, I was being deeply influenced by environment and environmental justice, which I had never thought about most of my life. In fact, since we were producing the Chevrolet Camaro and the Pontiac Firebird, these beautiful muscle cars, I probably knew there was something wrong that I didn't want to know because, you know, this is your job and workers love their job. But it was starting to dawn on me that making the auto was not the right thing for the Black and Latino community. So through another process I won't go through, the Strategy Center was actually formed in 1989, a lot around as an environmental justice organization, which was right on the front lines of that moment. And we became very good friends with Bob Board, Beverly Wright in the South, the late Cecil Corbin Marks, who just died about 6 months ago, terrible Peggy Shepard at West Harlem Environmental Action, Richard Moore, Southwest Organizing Project, and I was at the first People of Color Environmental Justice Leadership Conference in 1991. We made the first thing we were trying to do at the Strategy Center a fight in Wilmington, California, which is down in the harbor area, in an overwhelmingly Latino immigrant, a lot monolingual Spanish area, where the pollution from the oil refineries like Texaco and the Shell and the others was killing people. They could barely breathe and horrible asthma attacks. And we started organizing there against Texaco. Somehow, we also had a plan to deal with auto pollution because the same lung of the same child was being attacked by the auto and being attacked by the oil refineries. But then in 1992, the Urban Rebellion happened. And that was the next Urban Rebellion. The Strategy Center played a very active role. And I was the primary writer of essentially a book called Reconstructing Los Angeles from the Bottom Up. In our study, we found out that in 1965, there was something called the McCone Commission report, which was like the Kerner Commission, looking into why would Black people rebel. And interestingly, one of the things in the McCone Commission report, they talk about police brutality, slum housing. They said that the transit system was so segregated that Black people could almost get nowhere and almost didn't want you to get to the good jobs wherever they were, which was not in the Black community. Out of that, we started the Bus Riders Union, as we also kept the movement in Wilmington. So then we had the Watchdog in Wilmington and the Bus Riders Union. But the first thing that happened is almost as soon as we got there, the MTA, racist bastards that they are, started to eliminate the monthly bus pass. Now, this was insane because the buses were so filthy, so degraded, diesel buses, crowded like sardines. So what are you going to do with that? Not improve the service, not lower the fare, but squeeze bus riders out of the buses so you could spend all the money on rail, because the MTA is fundamentally a racist, gentrifying, corporate use of public money so they can have all these rail projects with cost overruns that could take everybody nowhere. Because as Ryan Snyder said, a train is a bus that can't turn. And a bus is great because LA already has a grid system based on the auto. So if we just took the auto out and we put the bus in, you know what it's like at 2 a.m. when there's nobody there. That highway system is phenomenal. You can get all over the place real fast. Imagine if the buses could take you there and if you had 24/7 free public transportation. So we started moving on the bus. We started organizing and put organizers on the bus. We originally called it Bus Riders Union, Unión de Usuarios, the union of sort of users or consumers. But while Bus Riders Union had a really good ring to it, the Latino members didn't like Unión. It was literal Unión de Usuarios. And through a long conversation, they came up with Sindicato de Pasajeros. What's important about that is Sindicato is a union. And while we say Bus Riders Union, a lot of people, like Black people who have been pushed out of unions, don't think of it also as a union as much as we'd like them to. But for Latinos, especially from the third world, Sindicato means, oh yeah, we're going to build a union, a fighting union of bus riders. Then we developed a Korean component. So at one point, the Strategy Center was very Black, Latino, Korean, moving on 3 fronts. When they announced the fare increase and the cutting of the mass service, 700 people showed up. But what we saw was the product of 1992, already 15 years of the counter-revolution. There was no organization. There was no consciousness. 700 people. Please cut the day service, not the night service. Get the kids off the bus. I don't like the Black kids with their boombox. Oh yeah, no, just the elderly. Well, the elderly, but only on Wednesdays. We're going, what the hell? The people were almost begging the MTA to take somebody else's service away. And we were trying to say, double the service, you know, no service cuts, stop the rail. So Stop the Rail started in 1992. The MTA eliminated the monthly bus pass. And we went to the MTA board, we were small, about 15, 20 of us. And we started screaming at them, how can you be doing this? And they were up there literally eating their lunch, as you know, if you've ever gone to these things, as the students say even, would you please pay attention? So their public comment was an insult. And I'd like to see a couple more faces. It's hard to speak into a completely dark screen, but we were devastated. We had failed. We just started the Bus Riders Union and we were sort of nobody. Now, I was trained in the civil rights movement. I have to find this thing. I said, well, we should sue them under the 1964 Civil Rights Act. I didn't even know about Title VI, but I knew the basic concept of racial discrimination and that this was a racist use of money, depriving Black and Latin people of their civil rights, while a lot of the money was going to wider rail lines. So I wrote this lawsuit, and I sent it to 3 different law firms. And 2 of them said, no grounds. And I sent it, luckily, to the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund through a fax. And Bill Landley and Connie Rice got on the phone, And at another point, well, I'll tell you for a minute. They said, all right, Eric, why do you think this violates the 1964 Civil Rights Act? Because they were sort of doing what's called moot court. They were testing to see. And I said, well, 14th Amendment says equal protection of the law. Civil Rights Act said that government cannot carry any policies that are based on racial discrimination. There's a massive subsidy to the rail projects, which are at least 25 or 30% white. They were not 50% white, but they were significantly white, especially in some areas. Whereas the buses were 94% Black, Latino, and Asian Pacific Islander. The bus riders had an average income of less than $15,000 a family. And the rail riders, some of them were having, of course, $100,000 and $200,000 in income because this was subsidizing the suburban white people. So then they said, okay, now let me hear the MTA's rebuttal. And when I try to teach people this, you got to be able to rebut your own stuff. I said, okay, MTA, yes, it's true right now this is racially discriminatory, but that's not its intention. In fact, once the rail is built, large numbers of Black and Latino people are going to get there. They're going to get much better service. They're going to get to the schools and hospitals they want. This is a short-term problem, and we still want to keep the bus service going. But you got to understand, rail is the future. And once the future is built, this is going to be a tremendous benefit to Black and Latino families. They said, all right, now rebut that. I said, all right, well, the first thing is you can't violate my rights in the present and tell me how good it's going to be in the future. Number two, we don't want a rail system. The bus system is the future of Los Angeles, and you're destroying it. The rail will never get people where they want to go. It's massively expensive for every line. When it's finished, the bus system is going to be destroyed. And in fact, that's the intention of the MTA. Destroy the bus, which is the competitor to the rail, so Black people have no choice but get on these stupid trains. And when the train is finished, where do they go? They need a bus. But there ain't no bus because you cut the bus system. And therefore, the MTA is a bunch of racist dogs and we should sue them. And they said, all right, Eric, great job. Let's get started. We're taking the case. So it's really important to understand that I knew civil rights law. I had to be able to argue both sides. I knew there would be a rebuttal. I'd already thought about the rebuttal. So in terms of your own thinking, as Acuna knows, when you debate, you have to listen to the other side because they have some good points, even if those are wrong points, and they are superficially persuasive. So you have to understand what's behind the bad argument. To give LDF tremendous credit, we worked, oh my God, we worked truly 24/7 for 2 weeks. We went to court. The other thing is that we got an amazing judge, a Black judge named Terry Hatter. When you go into the federal court, you spin a wheel and it's almost like the lottery. And as soon as you get a judge, you almost know whether you're going to win or lose the case. There are some judges that if you got that judge, you might as well forget it. So we got the best judge who would be sympathetic to us. But that didn't mean we couldn't, he still had to win the legal argument. Great props to Connie Rice and to Bill Landley and myself, because I worked with them 24/7 to write the case. We went into court and it was on a September 1st. I got to remember what year it was. I would say 1994. And Judge Hatter said, so what do you want me to do, Miss Rice? And she said, Your Honor, I want you to stop the MTA right now from canceling these buses. He said, well, when are they canceling the buses? She said, today. He said, well, you're not giving me a lot of time to think about this. He said, no, Your Honor, I need what's called a temporary restraining order. You must restrain them now from canceling the bus pass because it's going to cost people $1.50 every ride. And instead of $42 or $44, it's going to cost them $150 a month. And this is what's called irreparable harm, which is a legal term. It's not just going to cause discrimination, which might be a case, but But if you want what's called a temporary restraining order, it means something so terrible is happening that the courts must come in now. Now, let's be very clear. Most temporary restraining orders come against us. We're demonstrating, and the polluting company says, they're going to hurt my profits. You must stop them immediately, and the courts come in and put a temporary restraining order on you, and you're going to be arrested if you pick it. We almost never get a temporary restraining order against the bad guys. And Judge Hatter turned to the MTA and said, well, what's going to happen if I tell you got to start printing bus passes again? And interesting, their lawyer was sort of sympathetic to us. And parenthesis, they got rid of him. So he said, well, you know, we already sort of don't have a bus pass, Your Honor. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, that's the biggest problem you got? Start printing them, because there's real harm to the Black and Latin riders, and there's real no harm to you, is there? So you can't say it's irreparable harm to you. So they passed this temporary restraining order, which is unbelievable, never done almost in the history of the civil rights movement, really. And the next day, the MTA had started printing bus passes. They did raise it to $49 because Judge Hatter did not say they couldn't raise it. He said, you can't raise it to cause irreparable harm and you can't get rid of it. So we negotiated with them and we got it from 42 to 49, which wasn't that bad. And everybody thought it was a miracle that we got that. So that's the story that you're going to hear for the rest of this is a period from 1994 to 2006 of tremendous benefits for bus riders and tremendous increase in the power of the bus riders union. But from 2006 to 2021, 15 years, the MTA has been not just back at war with its own riders, but back at war with us because we put them under a federal court order. You could say we put them under our house arrest, and they hate us for it. And that's one thing you have to understand is that some of the groups in LA are saying, let's get along with the MTA because look how much they hate the bus riders union. We don't want to be hated. And I say, well, that's your problem. You don't want to be hated. But we are loved by the bus riders and hated by the MTA. We take that any day. And you are liked by nobody, you know, because the MTA don't like you and respect you. And the bus riders don't like and respect you if you won't fight for them. And I think what's great is a lot of forces now who have been used by the MTA, manipulated by the MTA, are coming along to build a really great movement and coalition. And we're really happy about that because we can't win this without many more supporters. So I'm going to show the film, about an 8-minute clip, especially for a lot of you from Rhode Island. Thank you for staying awake. Seriously, and people that have never seen it before. And then I'm going to say a few words, and then I'm going to go to my friend Barbara LOTT-HOLLAND, and then Channing, and then back to me, and then, you know, and we'll do an hour. So we'll do about till 7:15, and then we'll take questions and answers, and then we'll talk about the campaign, and we'll be out by 8. Are people good? All right, so thank you for showing. And one thing is Channing has said, which is great, is Channing once said that I've seen these films 20 times and each time you learn something new. So in that, let's hear the bus riders union. Who's this guy? Shit.
I've been with the bus rider union 23 years, and it's a part of me.
When we went on the bus, we felt some revolutionary energy there.
So there was a lot of pent-up frustration from bus riders for many, many years, from before we even started the bus riders union.
The people who ride the bus are by and large people of color, majority women. They are working class people.
And they're all packed together, just like Mark said the factory would do.
Overcrowding, basically is overcrowding of the buses.
The MTA was cutting bus service. They were cutting bus passes. They had old beat up buses.
And so this fight has been around, can we get people outraged enough at the crappy public transportation system that they have, but engaged enough to deepen their analysis of why it's crappy.
We were in this project of creating a political identity around the fact that people rode the bus.
Well, we got on the buses.
I just want to explain to everyone on the bus, we're from the Bus Riders Union.
It is unsafe to drive the bus.
The driver is absolutely right. These conditions are completely unsafe and unacceptable.
The MTA that are putting billions of dollars into a metro system going nowhere when 500,000 people take the bus.
In the Bus Riders Union, you're on the bus 4 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Trying to figure out what this little army that may be at best is like a flea bite. You know, how do you kill an elephant with flea bites?
We're not paying today because today is no seat, no fare day.
We would have our clipboards with our flyers saying we have a meeting coming up.
No seat, no fare, MTA, beware.
We are there to go into their meeting. There is the possibility of arrest.
And we took the MTA to court.
So what this decree did was it not only made the voices of bus riders heard, it put bus riders at the table to negotiate directly with MTA about how to improve the bus system.
But what's happened today will be a giant leap forward. It's an example of grassroots action making government pay attention and do things.
This is just a down payment.
That's right.
Still mobilize and organize to get the rest of what we want.
We put pressure on the MTA board. You know, we went to the board and we spoke and we expressed our feelings about the bus system, so therefore we wanted to be heard.
I think we are light years away from having a plan.
We can't sit here and say, okay, I'm going to spend $400 million. You know, I mean, you can't do that and not know where it's coming from.
And this meeting has been one of the great sellouts of any political meeting I've been in my life. Mr. Reardon, your credibility is less than zero. Ms. Burke, if our people were starving to death, you would want to do a study on rice and beans, but not capitalism.
We made a difference. We made a difference for a lot of people in this city.
Did you know we got $2.5 billion of buses?
If I had to make a choice, do you want to make a difference or do you want to make a statement? I would constantly choose making a difference every time. The danger in that is that you might settle too often. And one of the things I love about the Strategy Center is that the Strategy Center has been able to show that at different points in time you can do both. You can both make a difference and make a statement.
Everybody who's left the Strategy Center that I know of is out in the world doing great. That's a good line. That's a real good line. Everybody who left the Strategy Center is out in the world doing great. Beautiful to see Martine Hernandez. One thing you got to know about us is we take good care of each other and we stay together. I mean, Martine, she's been here for 30 years with me. And that Esperanza Martinez, who was talking about going on the bus 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, was an organizer in training, and we put her on the bus 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. And now she's an organizer with the United Teachers of Los Angeles. Shepard Pettit. It's funny, when I was using my hands, I saw the next Shepard use the exact same hands about whatever we were doing. Shepard is also one of the leaders of the Bus Riders Union for 30 years, worked with me. We're still together. Herman Henderson is Herman with us, Bridget? No?
Not yet.
All right, we're hanging on. But Herman Henderson's been with us at least 20 years. That story you saw, just real quick, is we signed the consent decree. And no sooner did the MTA sign the consent decree, which is supposed to get all these buses, when they didn't buy any buses. So it's sort of like now Channing is going to be sitting on this new steering committee about the $36 million that's going into the schools for Black students. But now the struggle is going to be, does the $36 million get into the schools for Black students? So we said to Mayor, that scene is where almost 2 years in, Mayor Reardon, who's so smart, is acting so confused. Well, I just don't understand where these buses are going to come from. Well, you signed a damn agreement with us to buy the buses. And then Ms. Burke, Yvonne Breth Burke, who's a famous Black woman who everybody in the Black community loved because they all grew up with her. So I just don't know where this money is going to come from. I mean, you just can't say you're going to get $400 million. But this Thursday, they're going to come up with $111 million that they know exactly where it's going to come from, proving the system always has money for what they want and it never has money for what you want. So it's a hard work that we do. And you got to have a lot of stomach for it. But here we are, an exciting moment. So with that, I'm going to introduce Barbara, who's going to talk about one big case study about the blockage of Wilshire to protect the MTA that was trying to cut night service. And then another campaign we had that she'll tell you about no cars in the way. Barbara LOTT-HOLLAND.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and thank you guys for joining us. Wow, it's a never-ending struggle. A couple of the things that I've learned being with the Strategy Center, and this, my first action, all that learning and training really came in handy. I tell you, one of the things I do remember is the Strategy Center does not enter any campaign without a clear and conscious, it's a clear and conscious action. It's not something like, even with this one, like, what they're gonna do that? Say, this is outrageous. We're gonna go there and give them a piece of our mind. Well, no. We studied, sit, and talked about this plan for many MTA, BRU planning committee nights. Once we agreed, okay, you know what? They're not listening to us. We can't get their attention. We're gonna shut down Wilshire Boulevard. And we thought about it. And at that time, Weston and Wilshire was our home. So it's like, this is our backyard. We own this. So we had the plan to shut down Wilshire Boulevard. But having said that, yeah, how are we going to do it and it be successful and it meets our objectives? You've got to have your goals. Why are you doing it? You're not just doing it because you're outraged. What are your objectives? And so after many nights of planning it, what if, I mean, the wall was full of scenarios. And one of the things, a part of this planned and conscious character, we knew before we stepped off that 12th floor, who was going to be the police mediator, who was going to be in the line of march. Everybody had a division of labor, and it was really branded into us, and it was critical for everyone to play their part in order for this to be a success. I mean, we even had designated people. We already knew who the police were going to lock up. And, I have to say, I was scared. This was my first act of civil disobedience. And I was scared, excited as I'm standing on the corner and waiting for the sound of the march to begin. And you better believe me, I followed my orders to the T, because I already knew them MTA batons, it's like a magnet for Black skin. And I just was not ready to get beaten down. And as I think about it, even now, for me at that time, the worst I was thinking of was to be beaten down, a bloody head, a bloody eye. But nowadays I could have been shot. You know, I could have been shot and even in the back for resisting arrest or obstructing justice. So that was, it was powerful for me. You talk about the energy and the will to do more that came after that night. I was scared, I was nervous, but it was a beautiful night. At the end of it, the people in their cars were rooting for us. People on the sidewalk was rooting for us. And guess what? That February 1998, the MTA finally settled with us, and they were able to reduce their budget, but at the same time, to keep our service. And our service was actually ended at 12 and started again at 6 o'clock the next morning. But we were able to stop that. So that was really, and for me, it was a good win. I mean, it was my first one. I got my feet wet, and it really set the stage for my next action. And this time I was a little more involved. I had a little more nerve, you know. I was more ready for this one, but still, it was the no seat, no fare. You want me to talk about that one later, Eric? I forgot.
Yeah. I want you to go to the. I'd like you to stay there for a minute, Barbara, because is it okay?
Sure.
Just questions for you, because it's so important what you just did. I want you to stay there. Describe to our people more what happened. You did a great job of the consciousness. What did it look like? What did we do?
Oh my stars. We started out with our band. We started on the corner near where the MTA, the train station was. You know, this was, you know, it was all not, as they say, not in my backyard. So we started there waiting for the signal. It reminded me sort of when I saw the Malcolm X movie and everyone was looking for that signal from the leader to get it started. I mean, I was really right in on it. We started the marching across the street, and everyone was a little startled, but not quite, because when they saw this was the BRU, they really stopped to see what are they doing now, because we took over those four corners whenever we felt like it. But this was the first time we blocked it. We blocked the four corners. So we marched from one corner to the other, denying traffic to go down Wilshire Boulevard. If they wanted to go down Western, they could go down Western, but nobody got across Wilshire Boulevard. And our long distance runner members were the ones that was actually addressing the cars. And trust me, Della Bonner did her duty. She did her duty. Nobody, not even the police, wanted to challenge Della, and she made the cars turn around. And even some of the police that were talked to, they was like, well, I don't have anything to do with it. I'm gonna have to go see it with my commanding officer. After a while, nobody really wanted to touch us. And the crowd kept growing. We started out, when we came from the 12th floor, there was probably about 15 of us. And I can't remember exactly, Eric, but I think after we finished, that was more than 50 people.
Absolutely.
That was, I mean, we were spilling. We were supposed to be on the curb, but it was so many of us that we were running over, really running over into the streets. And of course, the police did come. We stood by our members. We were there until they put them, and guess what they put them in? A bus. One of our, Dorothy, remember Dorothy, one of our members from Skid Row was saying, can you believe it, Barbara, they putting us on the bus? And we followed them down to the precinct. We did not rest there. We rallied around, marched around that same other corner until they finally let us out on OR, if I'm not mistaken, Eric.
Right. Well, that's the main story. I'll let you elaborate it because it's great. It's not let you, it's wonderful. So a couple of lessons, okay? And then we're gonna go. I mean, the first thing is Barbara, in terms of Black leadership, Barbara LOTT-HOLLAND, Della Bonner. I don't want to elaborate, but I will just tell this one story because Della, you saw the woman who said, this is just a down payment. Yeah, I think I'm pretty intimidating, but nothing like Della Bonner. And there were a couple of Black people in cars who were having some road rage. And Dale walked over and said, listen, son, I was 40 years old. Listen, son, this is the civil rights movement. You are going nowhere. Do you understand? Sit in this car. This is the bus riders union, and you figure out what side you're on. Yes, ma'am. So, and I was negotiating with the cops, and I was scared because they were threatening me and all kinds of stuff. I said, I can't stop these people. I'm sorry, I can't stop these people. And anyway, Patrick Ramsey, Woodrow Coleman, Dorothy.
Can't think of her last name.
Yeah, and she said she was homeless, and this is relevant to this police thing, and then we're going to go on. She said in the film Bus Riders Union, I don't care if I'm the only one on this bus. I have this right.
Yes.
And one reason they try to kill Black people is because Black people believe they have rights. And that scares the system because everybody else has lost any belief that they have rights. And that's why they are so harsh. So I'm gonna go to just one more thing. I'm gonna tell Channing, is that okay? I want you to tell the hunger strike story. I'm gonna sum it up and then we're gonna go to questions and answers. Is that okay? And Bridget, are you ready for yours? Your story? All right, so we're gonna Channing, Bridget, tie it up, and Q&A. So we can get on with the MTA.
Yes. Is her last name Henderson? Dorothy Henderson? No. I don't remember. Okay.
Right.
I did see it once. So I joined the Bus Riders Union in officially 2007, but unofficially way before then because I was coming to political parties before then. But the fight that I think I was integral in was the 2010 fare increase. And a bunch of us decided to do a hunger fast for justice to represent the amount of food and the resources that you're taking out of bus riders' mouths and their pockets by raising the fares. And so the hunger fast was 7 days, but as you can see, I'm really tiny. So I was told after day 5 to stop by a registered nurse, so I did. And it's a complicated story because more than anything, like we've tried everything with this agency, right? As you saw from the film, we did no seat, no fares, right? Barbara just told a story about actually interrupting traffic, right? And for my day, this was one of the big things that we were doing. We were doing a hunger fast right across the street from Metro in Placito Vera. And we had about, something like 7 people fasting. We had activities every day for about 7 days. There was, we had some support, but we did not get the level of support that we thought we would have, right? So there's some days that we might have had a press conference and we had maybe 100, 150 people there. But there was also some days that no one came at all out of those 7 days. And it was hard. For me, it's hard because I'm very tiny, so I have to eat to some extent. So doing a hunger fast is very hard. And then the harder thing is that while we are fasting, we're sort of privileged to be able to fast because there's actual houseless people that are sleeping on that big grass area along with us. And so that ended the last day with us marching into the Union Station, across Union Station into the board, and shutting down the board meeting, in which something like 7 of our organizers actually got arrested. We were militantly defying all of their orders, so they told us to clear out the boardroom, and we eventually did with about 150 people. But after we did that, then we took over the hallway or the big open area in the building, and they were trying to push us out of that, and we eventually left. But at the end of that, they still raised the fares. They still arrested our people. It was powerful to have 100, 150 people there, but it's not the same thing as the 700 people that came out in 2007 for the increase. But even when you look at that, 700 people came out, 400 people spoke, and they still voted for that fare increase. And so I guess the main lesson for me is there's really no humanity. There's really no humanity on that Metro board. They really don't care about Black and Latinx passengers, and they especially don't care about Black passengers. And the last thing I'll say is when we're talking about stop the MTA attacks against Black passengers, and we regularly talk about the population decrease of Black people in Los Angeles, Metro is one of the agencies that helped to drive Black people out of the city. And help to drive Black people into homelessness.
So a couple of lessons that we think are important for those who want to work with us. I mean, one is that we try everything. Barbara, a terrific presentation. And, when we did the hunger strike, we had goals and objectives. And the goals was to think that maybe we tried sit-ins, we tried the courts, we try everything. This will attract a lot of attention because people, it's a hunger strike is a serious thing, as Channing was explaining. It did not produce the results we thought. It did not produce the level of sympathy we thought. It didn't produce any movement on the part of the enemy. That does not mean it was not a good tactic. It just means that at the bus riders union, we try, and you don't fail sometimes. The system is failing you. And yet it makes you think, oh, if I only did this. Well, we tried every damn thing. But imperialism cannot be reformed. We repeat that. Imperialism cannot be reformed. That doesn't mean we don't try. But here we are with Black people down to 8% of LA. So you get it. But the story is the building of Barbara LOTT-HOLLAND. The story is the building of Eric Mann, the building of Channing. In other words, a lot of these stories about the building of leaders, which is what the Strategy Center does. We're trying to build, what did Channing call it? We're building a machine to take on the system. And we want people just to realize that you got to join the machine because they got a machine. So I think these are all deeply moving stories. I'm going to go to Bridget Maya, and then we're going to sum up, and then we're going to go to conversations about maybe Channing, you could lead the conversation, you and Bridget, and could talk about the phone banking. You and Acuna could talk about Wednesday. So we'll walk people through, but I'd like to get some Q&A between what we presented, get some response from the comrades who have stayed, and then we'll go into the next step. Okay, so Channing, even though it's out of order, why don't you just tell, even if you're repeating it, tell us what happens next, the next 3 days, just briefly. We'll come back to it so everybody knows where the story is going.
So the next 3 days, we planned a week of action. So tomorrow, Bridget and Emily will be talking more in detail about a phone banking and public comment night. So you'll be writing public comment, and Bridget has a template on what makes a good public comment and what makes it influential. And the great thing about that is you can also use that public comment to do phone calls to then teach other people to call board members on the spot. So that's number one, right? On Wednesday, we have a very exciting rally. Me and Acuna already came up with some very embarrassing, corny tactics to make everyone laugh, but everyone bond together, including some call and response chants during organizing. So we'll talk a lot more about that. And then Thursday, the important thing is that, board members, there's some degree that they listen, there's some degree that they don't, but we tend to want to read it into the record so that if we wanted to do something grander, it shows that we put into record that we were in opposition. So so we're trying to have a very big presence at the board virtually to give public comment. And if you can give public comment, it would mean a lot. And furthermore, because the Metro does not like the BRU and detests us and does everything they can to disturb us, if you can give public comment and say, I am in support of the bus riders union, that means a whole bunch as well.
Well, we know what we're doing. And yeah, and one thing to add is seriously that we're going to meet at Earl's on Crenshaw. It's going to be I have one slogan, what do you call it? Fight transit racism, march for civil rights, have a great lunch and smash the state. So we're going to have free lunch on Wednesday at Earl's, who has great hot kosher dogs, turkey dogs, vegan dogs, fries. Some people are already working on their orders, but we're gonna have a great time. So join us get on the bus and fight with us Wednesday at 12. All right, Bridget, you're gonna tell your story, then we're gonna go to everybody in the audience. Not the audience, the other comrades.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. So I think one of my stories that I like to share happened last year. I believe this was during when MTA was working on passing Next Gen. And basically they were planning on cutting bus service. They were going to cut a lot of the rapid buses, which are buses that the BRU have won in the past. So they wanted to cut the rapid buses and merge them into the local buses and add more stops to them. But overall, it just meant that they were cutting service, right? So we were at the MTA board at the actual building. This was in September of last year, 2020. And we wanted to make sure that, even though the board wasn't going to be inside the building, that they still knew that our presence was still there and we were still watching them and holding them accountable for what they were doing. So I think we organized it in less than 3 days or 4 days. Me, Eric, and Chani went out on Monday to just get a scope of the place, get a feel, what do we want to see at this rally that we're planning? And we envision having a stage, 2 big speakers, and we even bought a generator, which is crazy, but it's great now that we own a generator, so you guys can catch us anywhere. But I think with this, it really had all of us feeling the sense of urgency and really pressuring us, like this can be a make or break for the BRU, because we really wanted to make sure we really wanted to understand who we really have, in the community or even in our memberships, who is willing to come out during a pandemic, especially. So we organized to make sure that the front of the board were to look like saturated of BRU. There were so many people wearing BRU shirts. You would see PVP. I always confuse them. But we had these big banners hanging in front of the board, and you couldn't miss us, right? Even bus riders, not bus riders and transit riders were coming by like, oh, the bus riders union, what are you guys up to? What's going on? And we were able to organize those people as well. And honestly, it was a great experience, even though it was very stressful. It was a great experience because we were able to get 40 people to come out in support of the Bus Riders Union. And these people came out of our own membership base with our our organizers revolutionary film club, our Taking Action students at 3 different high schools, and even our old Bus Riders Union, right? Like Herman Henderson, I believe Shep was there, and even new friends of the Strategy Center. So it was really great to be able to, have these different groupings of people who are part of the Strategy Center be at one place at the same time and be united in the same issue. And the fact that it was in the midst of a whole pandemic, like people were willing to come out, wear their BRU shirts with their masks and social distance, and rally against the MTA to stop the service cuts that they were planning back then. And I think that's what we want to do again this week, right? At Earl's, we want to make sure we're able to have 15, 20 people with our yellow shirts just out there organizing everybody, getting lunch, to understand what's going on and to be a part of our fight, right? Because in order for us to really win, we need to be able to have the community behind our back to support us, right? Because we're not doing this fight for us, but we're doing this fight for the bus riders. We're doing it for the Black riders who ride public transportation, for all the working class people, for the women who ride the buses, and the students. So, you know, we really want to be able to really make a difference, right? And not only a statement. And really have people behind us with their support, willing to be ready whenever we call them.
All right. Thank you, Bridget, really. And I was just trying to think what you were saying is, we're aware it's a pandemic. We are scared. It's not like we don't get it. We're going to be very careful. And we're trying to figure out how to navigate. A lot of us are very vulnerable, but we're going to be there. And we'll be very, very careful and very attentive to that it's a real pandemic that's killing people. I think one of the things you're getting out of that is the level of dedication we're trying to build. Why don't we go and get some comments? And there's one more thing I want to tell people what's going on. We don't have 7 votes on this board, which is not going to surprise you. But we have Mike Bonin, and I want to share something with you that Mike Bonin is willing to, city council person Mike Bonin is willing to vote no. And you need to understand very briefly that the MTA has literally overspent 110 million. They are trying to pay back additional money that they already spent that they had no right to spend. So it just shows you that even somebody who's a so-called fiscal conservative, it's bullshit. When it comes to Black people, there is no fiscal conservative who will not spend money for prisons and guns. So let's just cut through everything. You're supposed to stay in your budget, except if it's for police. So right now he's alone. He's going to do it, but it's very difficult to be alone. And if the vote's going to be 12-1, and he needs to work with people on other stuff, then it matters if there's 2 votes, if it's Holly Mitchell, that changes everything. It matters if there's 3 votes, Hilda Solis, because once the board is split on the police, we can move, there's space to move. Once Monica Garcia said, I'll cut by 50%, she pulled the whole board towards her. So we got to support Mike Bonin. We got to do a lot of work to really talk to people on the board and to call all 11 members of the board and talk to their agent, talk to their aides, talk to their offices, because we are trying to create some splits on this board, because then there's another contract coming up. So a victory is that we pull this off really well. A victory is if Mike Bonin votes for us. I'm serious, we got to do something to really reinforce him after the Thursday. And that's what we got to plan all the way to Thursday. I'm going to go to Acuna just first, and then can we go back on the screen and see who's around and who's still awake and alive? And we'll try to call on several of you to ask questions and make comments. Can you do the whole board again, Channing, and get people back on? But Acuna, you can start, and you can start while we're doing this.
Sure thing. Hey y'all, I'm Acuna. I live in South LA. I'm a teacher, and I'm really excited to be working with Channing on organizing the rally for Wednesday. Essentially, what we're trying to do is not only organize ourselves by gathering, having further discussion, but we're trying to get the word out, because one thing that is deeply disturbing, but those who are, veterans of the movement, I think are used to the up and down. For me, I was coming off of the high of the huge victory in having the $25 million that was cut from the LA school police budget going towards Black students, and all of the leadership that the Labor Community Strategy Center played in that. A lot of my students were involved, and we're really excited to be a part of something that had that win, right? Because everyone is like, we're all upset, but then when you can actually organize and get something done through group movement, you're like, wow, that kind of felt good. I was pissed off and got something done because I did something with other folks. celebrated for maybe half a day. And then we hear, you know, this news that the MTA suddenly found a pot of gold for the LAPD. And so immediately, you know, as someone who, again, I'm a teacher, before the pandemic, I would be on the train every day to get to school with students. It's like, okay, we're not going to actually have police on campus. Let's have the police on the trains and buses while the students are on their way to campus, and we'll police them and get at them before they even get to school. So on Wednesday from 12 to 2, and you might have a 1-hour lunch break, and if you're a teacher, you might really only have 30 minutes. Maybe you can pop in. Some of you will be there all 2 hours, and we love you for that. But essentially what Channing and I are working on is an opportunity for folks to get together, organize, get more information, have conversation among ourselves, but then also have pamphlets and different activities that Channing and I have been brainstorming so that we can get the word out. Because I think, one, there's a lot of people who have no clue what's going on because we're in a pandemic. There's a lot going on, especially in South LA. We're one of the worst hit areas in terms of all the nonsense and deaths. But we also have people who heard about the win, but they haven't heard about this next iteration of the fight. And that's our job on Wednesday. If you come out, you can get some Earls, beef, vegan, whatever it is you need, we're gonna have it. There's gonna be a lot of actions to do, sending emails, writing petitions, getting information out. And I hope to see folks there. I'm really excited. I'm going to be wearing 2 masks. So and actually I'll bring some N95s. I probably have 40 of them. I'll bring mine. So if you need something a little bit more heavy duty, you can have that and then put your cute mask over it. And, you know, I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Thanks, Akuna. And also just to add, you know, that the Strip, for some of you don't know, it's one of the few places that's really alive. During that period, there's a whole post office. There's, you know, several. It's going to be cool. There's a lot of people, and we're going to try to talk to drivers driving by. So I can't wait. Don't tell us everything you're going to do because we're all excited about being surprised. Very cool. Are there other people who would like to speak? Especially, I don't know if the brother from the East Coast is still there. Nice enough at 10:14. Are there other people that would like to just say a few words from the floor? I see Asa coming on. Hi, Asa. What were you thinking?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I guess I don't have a question, but I guess one thing that I've been thinking about just from listening is, I guess, like the idea of history and like putting your work in conversation with like broader movements or like historical movements or movements that people give it like the cultural significance of history, like, you know, under bus boycotts and bus activism that you mentioned. And then also like Channing mentioning showing up to the board, you know, and being there to kind of leave a mark on the record, I guess. So I guess I don't have anything particular to share or ask about that, but I just found that really interesting, like leaving a mark, I guess, and just making history intentionally and leaving history like intentionally, like, yeah, anyway, those are just some of my thoughts and reactions.
Well, they're very important thoughts, and the Strategy Center says that one of the things we do that is different is we train people in history. It's a big part of, we have a bookstore with how Europe undeveloped Africa and the open veins of Latin America, and Franz Fanon, The Wretch of the Earth, and Black Bolshevik by Harry Haywood, and Black Reconstruction America by W.E. Du Bois. And we want people to know that we're part of a long line of people that have struggled, and I mean it in a serious way, that you go with your full life and you hold the baton and then you hand it off. And the thing that Channing was saying about, we are laying the record for Black and Latino people in the future who can say, oh my God, I didn't realize the MTA did this. So thank you for what you just said. Thank you for seeing us. because it's exactly right. The historical record is a unique thing that the Strategy Center does that's trying to influence the movement around the slogan that we make. History is made in the present, shaped by the past, and shaping the future. So they're all present at the same time. Thank you, Issa. We'll keep talking. Very cool. Are there any other people who would like to join us? That was very helpful. Let's see. Yolanda, are you still here?
Hi there, I am. Not quite presentable today, but I just want to say thank you for making this happen. And on my part, I definitely have been reaching out to key leaders that are not involved in this conversation and really bringing them on board to learn in this teach-in tonight. I hope some of them have attended, and also to find ways that we can spread this information across all of our platforms. So, you know, the thing is that I think a lot of people we're not connecting the dots the way that we should. And also the idea that we talk about Black History Month and the abuse that has happened in the past when something is happening every minute as we talk right now in terms of our movement and in terms of transportation. And so that really just resonates with me every day from the standpoint that I recognize the privileges that I have, but yet my younger brothers and sisters are judged and harassed because of the color of their skin. And I think we need to basically just keep pausing for a moment to recognize that this is not about the past. This is happening right now. Every 5 minutes, another one of us is being harassed because of not only the color of our skin, but the fact that they want to immobilize, to pretty much stop our mobilization. So just thank you for having me here.
Well, you know, Yolanda, you know, we celebrate Black History Century, and this Black History Month has become so trivialized that now you're on, you know, MSNBC, which is, I listen to the stock shows, and you have, you know, a bunch of Black capitalists saying, you know, I'm going to teach you how to invest, and you're going to make Black history $1 at a time. So that's their theory. It's not wrong. It's a Black United, it's a Black United Front. And other people are saying, we got to get more Black people into the media, even though they're not even saying what they're going to say when they get there. You know, but we need more Black faces in high places. But on the other hand, you have Judas and the Black Messiah, who we're going to try to get into our film club as fast as we're allowed to, because that's one of the great films about history that the Strategy Center wants to talk about. And I was at Fred Hampton's funeral. I was also at Malcolm X's funeral, which I just realized is pretty deep stuff. We'll talk about that. So thank you, Yolanda, about, you know, we're trying to make Black History Month come alive.
All the time.
All the time.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Because then you know, in March you show up and say, they say, wait, you had your month.
Right.
No, that was, come back next February. No, what? Wait a minute. Who invented this?
Right.
You know, we don't go that way.
Yes.
Thanks, Yolanda. Chantha, what are you thinking? And Kat, will you next?
I guess, so I work at the Mass DOT as a transportation planner as well. And we're currently redoing a bus redevelopment, and we're working with Title VI stuff. So I know the Bus Riders Union definitely knows what Title VI is. So it's interesting to hear a little bit, I guess, just about like what it used to be like, because nowadays it's all about doing more than what Title VI offers, trying to reach like the suburban areas, trying to reach, you know, disadvantaged communities and things, trying to provide as much service as we can to irregardless. And it was just nice to like hear more about, I guess, like all of this work that you guys do. You know, I don't know too much more beyond what I just told you, about, I guess, just about what I know about the BRU. But yeah, sorry, I don't really have too much to say.
Well, it means a lot that you showed up. It means a lot. We want you to stay with us. We'll send you other stuff. Channing will follow up with you on the Film Bus Riders Union. We urge people who have any kind of budget to buy the Film Bus Riders Union from us. And Channing, just go to Channing at thestrategycenter.org, and he and I will, but he'll go to Channing, and our team will make sure that anybody who cares about us will care about you back. That deal? Kat Messick, who's in our class on transformative organizing at Cal State Northridge, and is also working with us at the Strategy Center. Hey, Kat, what's happening?
Hey, as a quick note, I had a chance to watch Judas and the Black Messiah like last night. I took so many notes, and I'm gonna definitely take more when we have a chance to watch it for the film club. But I mean, definitely a few things to keep in mind. What Acuna said about just like coming off the win of securing the $25 million for Black students, and then getting the news during class of like the, just the MTA on their bullshit again. It's just like, okay, here we go, let's go. It's just like one week after the other. And I was just like already thinking about the next action steps, but I also trust that the Strategy Center was going to come up with strategy and your own tactics guided by ideology, guided by history. And I just like trusted that y'all were going to just like keep me in the loop, and then I was going to go like keep other people in the loop too. So I was just like, I was ready to go. And definitely as soon as I saw like the sign up links for just tonight's webinar and tomorrow's phone bank at 4 and the rally on Wednesday from 12 to 2, I'm just like, okay, I'm going. Who else can I get involved? So I'm just looking forward to helping out how I can. And yeah, it's gonna be my first time meeting everyone in person, which is like it's so weird to think about, because like Bridget texted me because I'm just like, oh, there's a rally on Wednesday, like what's going on? And she said like, I'm excited to meet you. I'm like, oh wait, that's right. So I'm just really excited to bring it in person now, just because I mean, we're reading the book for class, and under the section of the communicator, right, for one of the roles, it's just like e-organizing is useful, but that can't be the main tactic. So I'm really excited to just like be in person and feel that energy and meet everyone. I'm just excited.
Well, thanks, Kat. And you bring great
I'm excited.
You do bring great energy, and that's the biggest energy. I'm doing a lot of thinking about energy and physics and who's got the energy. When this happened, Channing came in, I was so happy. I mean, I was actually high over the victory, so sitting there and thinking, all right, I'm gonna take a week off and write in my book. And Channing said I got bad news, and I thought he meant like the computer broke or something. And he said, no, you're not gonna believe this. And then I got a call from Greg Akili about 5 minutes later, and he from Black Lives Matter, is an old friend. He said, did you hear what the MTA is up to? But we're here to back your play. What's your play? I said, my play is I just found out about this shit. I said, but come back in 2 hours, we'll have a play. And me and Channing took about 15 minutes to breathe deep. And we said, all right, now what? And we came up with this plan. So I think we try to prove our own theory, which is, if you want to be a warrior, you got to know there's a lifetime of war. We don't make this shit up. They won't let us go. They will not leave us alone. So thanks, Kat. And we, you see, we're building a team, and we appreciate you being part of it. Let's see, everybody's been great. There's an Andrew. Andrew, you want to say something? Are you still there? Andrew, is it Hernandez? I didn't see the rest.
It's Hernandez. Hi. Hold on. I guess start video. Hi, my name's Andrew Hernandez. I'm Acuna's friend. She keeps getting me to come to these things. I'm sorry I joined late because I'm also a graduate student at USC. And so we just ended class at like 6:30. So I also just kind of rolled in. But from what I've gathered for things that have come at the Strategy Center, it's been great. Some of the movie things that have come to, some of the discussions, some of these panels have been like really informative, especially for me because I'm a graduate student in history who's really interested in local organizing and what it means for people to reclaim their own histories. And so it's just been really powerful and really amazing to be able to attend these kinds of events. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And the biggest thing where we want to win the, I'm sorry, you know, we have this call and response. So the reason I played a role as chair and everybody is, we don't just let people talk and say, thanks a lot, next. One of the things we need from historians is to say that the Strategy Center writes its own history. We want to help elevate the history of the people that are making their own history, which is what Asa said. You know, we, during the People of Color Summit, we had a slogan, we speak for ourselves. And that came from Dana Alston, who died. And it's like, don't write about us, just give us an opportunity to write our own story. Don't speak about us, open up the door at the college and bring us in as the experts on our own story. So we speak for ourselves is something the Strategy Center believes in, and very cool that you're part of us. You know, very cool that you're, so let's keep staying with us. Thank you a lot. Tristan, are you around? There's a lot of cool people here. We're still going. Thank you, Anjo. Tristan, are you here? You still want to be here?
Yo,
Hi.
I'm here. What's up?
Good. I don't know. You have something you'd like to tell us about
we're fighting the same fight here in Portland. That's where I'm based, Portland, Oregon. We're trying to defund our transit police. So just appreciate this this webinar y'all put together, and solidarity. Yeah.
All right. We used to have this thing, Transit Riders for Public Transportation. Stay in touch with us, okay? Channing at thestrategycenter.org. Maybe you've already been in touch. But thanks a lot for being part of this. Let's keep talking. Very cool. All right, everybody else, we're almost finished.
I know that Farmars, who's also been helping out.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if Sarah's still on. But if you hang with us, we hang with you. You know, we ain't going to bed until everybody, you know, we'll be the last ones up. So I want to keep going, Channing.
Well, thank you, Eric. I wanted to say I first met Eric Mann 21 years ago, dating myself a little bit, when Medea Benjamin went to meet with him about the proposal for permanent normal trade relations with China during the Clinton administration. And I specifically remember Eric telling Medea, you know, we can't fall into this trap of anti-China propaganda. And that really stuck with me because I always supported fair trade, but I never felt really good about some of the language about that battle. And anyway, why do I bring this up? Eric mentioned a couple of times, alluded to the economic system that we're in, how it ties into the struggle that we have right now. And I think about, for example, in China, they have trains and those work very well. They use subways, they work very well. So why is it that trains are so problematic here? And that's because of the economic system that we have and the form of governance that we have. And so we have to oppose trains. Why? Because when Metro builds train projects, that is a form of colonization. It is not for the benefit of the writers. It is for the benefit of property developers, for property speculation. And that then drives out the very working class Black and brown communities that those projects purport to serve. So I find that is a way to help people understand. Well, the Bus Riders Union understands that trains intrinsically aren't a bad technology, but rather it's within this economic system and political system that when you have these huge projects, $100 million projects, same could be true if they wanted to build a busway for $400 million. It would become about the contracts, the contractors, the kickbacks. That's why it won't work, right? And so what we want is essentially a socialist form of transportation. And that is what Eric has been very successful, in my opinion, in tying this issue of bus and transit justice to a broader understanding of how capitalism fails the working class.
Beautifully said from us, and we're gonna hope, seriously, these things are recorded. Thanks for understanding. I mean, today I'm very sick. I'm just thinking already, and thank you again for what you said. See, the problem with imperialism, seriously, is even when it's a good idea, it turns out a bad idea, because it's like, if you're on the slave plantation, what could be good? I'm serious. There's a train in here, as you said, we're not against trains. I mean, trains could be, we've always said we wanted them. At one point, we believed in a so-called multimodal system. We thought there were some places where trains could be good, until we saw just what you said, and thank you. In this historical context, train is code for, we used to say urban renewal is Negro removal. The train is, by the time they build it, the speculator has already bought the land, because they know exactly when the train station is going to be built. And by the time the train gets there, you're not. So it's been hard. It's been hard because we have all these white people going, I'm just so confused. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like you people, but you can't just say you don't like trains. I mean, when I had a choo-choo train when I was a kid, and we say, God, man, we've been talking to you guys for 20 years. What don't you understand? So thank you for how you expressed it. And also one more thing, if you see already that Joe Biden is already saying how he wants to rebuild NATO, which means he wants to attack Russia. Joe Biden wants to go back to being America, a Pacific power like Obama did, which means he wants to attract China. So understand, behind some of the good things, and they are doing some good things, this is reconstructing a neoliberalism, imperialism that we got to build a movement against. So thank you, Farmaz, beautifully said. Is there a Courtney here who would like to speak? And as a Dorian, I see two names, and then we could tie up.
No, I don't want to speak. I came in so late in the conversation. I'm just listening in. I am a friend of Akuna. So is a Dorian. So we are coming in to just hear and did not want to miss the opportunity. So Akuna definitely got us here, and we are honored to be in the space.
Very happy to have you. Akuna is organizers are judged by who they bring. And there's a thing called builds a base and never walks alone. And Akuna Uka never walks alone. So glad to meet you, Courtney, and glad to meet Dorian and everybody, and come to get to know us, Andrew and a lot of others. Come to get to know us, get to know Channing, get to know Barbara, Emily, Bridget, me, and very happy to have you here. Are there any last people? Oh, DT Evans, thank you for coming. I don't know how long have you been here, but I don't care if you just showed up. Please say hi. This is one of our longtime leaders and friends. Hey, DT, how are you doing? Go off mute, DT. Are you with us, DT? It looks like you're off mute. Channing, what's happening?
Not sure. DT, feel free to start talking whenever you are ready. You're unmuted. Let me know.
All right, Channing, you want to take us home?
May I, Eric, may I add one more thing? I really liked what you mentioned about the myth of the buying power being the salvation of people of color, especially Black people under capitalism. For those who are interested, there is a talk on Professor Jared Ball's new book, The Myth of Black Buying Power, that's happening this Saturday, and I'll put the info in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We like things like that, okay? We really do. We want to expose people to a lot of different thought, and there's a lot of great writing being done. Channing, why don't you, is that okay, everybody? So we're gonna basically, Channing's gonna give Emily, did you speak? Emily, we would like to hear you. You're one of our lead organizers now, and our new organizers, and then we'll get Channing, and we'll say goodnight.
Okay, sorry. I was eating because my mom brought in a pupusa for me, but
sounds good.
I've been listening to the conversation. So honestly, I'm just really excited to be here and to see all the people that came out. And I'm really grateful to be in this space and to share with all of you, because I feel like, you know, it's definitely nice to have a sense of community in times where we're so isolated from one another. And I'm really hoping that a lot of people show out to our events. And hopefully people come to the phone banking tomorrow that Bridget and I will be hosting. I believe it'll be taking place around 4:30, same time from that we did previously. If anybody showed up, 4:30 to 6:30, 2 hours. And we will be targeting, I believe, the 10th district, which is, I'm sorry, yeah, we'll be targeting the 10th district. And we'll be making calls to people. It'll be a little bit different from last time. For the people that were able to do the call Evo, we'll be using a different approach this time. But yeah, so that's what we're planning for tomorrow, and emails will be going out. And please drop in the chat if you're interested, and your emails, in case we don't have you registered already, we could get you registered with that. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And I also hope that people come out on Wednesday with us, because we're really excited to see people, and hopefully you come out and get a hot dog with us so we can, you know, have a good time, and also have our, you know, our politics involved as well, because I mean, yes, we're going to eat, but there needs to be some action too. So yeah, that's all I got to say, but thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Lauren. Good night, everybody. I'm turning it over to Channing Martinez to take us out.
Sure. So this is the guy that's going to make all the asks. And, you know, the first thing I'm going to say is that there's 16 folks here, right? And that is a lot of potential. We've seen marches with 5 people. We've seen people close down the freeway with 3 people. 16 people is a lot. And if each one of us take 1 or 2 actions, that means that we can double that, right? So that's 32 people. And then you can ask those people to double that to 64 people. So here's the thing. Tomorrow, Emily and Bridget are going to be doing the phone banking, which she talked about. And we're trying to get as many people in the 10th district to basically, in some sense, welcome Holly Mitchell and ask her to stand with the bus riders union. And then call on, what's her name? Hilda, thank you. Call on Hilda Solis, who has been on the board for quite a while, who is working with some of our nonprofit organization allies, to then make the right stand, right, and make sure that Bonin is not alone. Wednesday is going to be really important because we're going to be in person for the first time in a very long time. And as people are going to the post office or Earl's Grill or Oyster or Orleans and York, or getting clothing, or et cetera, it's good because it's right there in the heart of the Black community, in the heart of the very, very folks that are using public transit, but also in the heart of the 10th community that does pay a lot of attention to government decisions, that does pay attention to the Metro, that does pay attention to LA City Council. These are folks who are on neighborhood councils, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a very important grouping of people in this area. And it's going to be a very big, important opening, to some extent, opening play for us to further deepen organizing. So come ready to not just chant, but come ready to be able to organize folks. And we'll train you. Don't think we're just going to throw you out there. And we have some exciting activities that are even for folks who are shy like myself, to get you sort of hyped up and be able to want to fight. And so And then Thursday, we need everyone that can to, I mean, there's people that do all types of things on the board. And we're not saying you should do all types of crazy things on the board, but the more support that we can get on Thursday, the better, right? And tomorrow's going to be very important for teaching you how to make sure that it's effective. So those are our activities. We have a page on the strategycenter.org's homepage that you can see every activity and RSVP and register for the Zoom links. And I will definitely be emailing and reaching out to some of you guys for some help with some stuff. So that's it.
Much love to everybody. We're going to sign off. Okay. Why don't you sign off? Because we're always the last ones here. That's how it works.
One last thing. I know you all mentioned two of the county supervisors, Holly Mitchell and Hilda Solis, but there's a third one that definitely needs to hear the pressure, and that is Sheila Kuehl, who represents all of the brown communities in the San Fernando Valley. She has no excuse, and yet during the operations committee, she was speaking like she's going to vote in favor of more money for cops. So if you know any folks in the San Fernando Valley, tell them to put pressure on Supervisor Kuehl.
Well, then I will get the last word, which is one of the things that Farmers said is that we want you to all understand is that there has been, and try to listen, I know you do, there's been a tyranny of Democratic Party dictatorship in this city, from Mark Ridley Thomas to Sheila Kuehl to the whole Janet Hahn, James Hahn, Kenny Hahn. These are machines, and they have their own liberal base, and they think they're great, and they are impervious to any kind of moral challenge until we make it really hard. And I think we have to reach out to Sheila Kuehl, reach out to every board member, and then afterwards, because we're not going to just change everything in 3 days, we're going to have long-term campaigns to change the minds of people. So with that, I am saying goodnight. I'd like people to sign off so we can, Channing and I can be the last people on the screen, and then we'll close down. Good night, everybody, and take very good care of yourselves, okay?
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
We're still waving. Good night, Barbara. All right. It's like saying good night to the whole family. Good night. Good night, DT. Sorry it didn't work. Talk to you soon. All right.
Oh, hold on.
What?
Hold on.
I'm not going.